Yes, you're not hallucinating. It really does have a V12 engine and yet looks like a taxi. It's at least as refined as a Rolls-Royce Ghost, and yet you can buy one for the price of a used BMW 5 Series. Does that mean you should though? Today we're going to take a thorough look through it, see what it's like to drive, and what's on the market right now. I guarantee that you've never seen a luxury car like it. Welcome to the Toyota Century. The first version was launched in 1967. The name Century was used to celebrate the 100th birthday of Toyota's founder, which happened to fall on exactly that year. It introduced the concept of ultimate but understated luxury and ran virtually unchanged for 30 years. For me though, it's this one, the second generation that came out in 1997, which is the most interesting. Whereas the first used a piffling V8, this one, the G50 series, has a custom-made 5-litre V12 that was not used in any other car. It only puts out 300 horsepower supposedly, but what it's all about is the torque curve, which is practically flat. The main aim with this engine wasn't power, it was smoothness. But still, it is said that they benchmarked it against all the other V12s that were made by BMW, Mercedes, Jaguar, and made sure that this outpunched them in the rev range between 500 and 3,500 RPM. They're supposed to do about 18 miles to the gallon on average, which for a stonking big V12 in a big heavy car is actually pretty good. And Brad, who owns this one, reckons it's better than that. He was saying that on a run, about 30 miles to the gallon should be pretty easily achievable. Now, as far as I know, this was the only production V12 ever to come out of Japan. Later versions of the Century having reverted back to a V8. For a top-end luxury car, this is unique in that it was never marketed as a sign of wealth or excess. That might explain why. It was always sold as a Toyota. Even by this stage, when this came out in 1997, the Lexus brand was already out there. You'd think it would have made more sense to sell it as one of those. But no, they kept it as a Toyota. These things really do make Rolls-Royces feel almost mass-produced. It took weeks to complete each car, and it was considered a huge honour for any worker that was assigned to build them. The paint is polished by hand. The badges, that's the sign for the Imperial House of Japan. The Phoenix is engraved by hand and then covered with 6 layers of cloisonné enamel. You might think this is a flagpole, but you'd be wrong. It's to tell the driver where the front edge of the car is. Enough of this though now. Let's have a look at where it really wows you. Inside. Now, when you're inside, the first thing that you notice is that this is actually a wool cloth. It's not leather. And indeed, this is the only car in the world which is devalued if it's leather. Now, Toyota believed that wool was a better option because it's cooler in summer, it's quieter, it doesn't squeak, it's warmer in winter, and it's softer and more comfortable. Now, you could get leather as an option, but if you're buying one of these now second-hand, you really want one with this 100% wool interior. So that's the first thing. Then, let's have a look here. On your center console there, what you have is a TV with a remote control, which I love the way it's just sort of served up on a little tray. Pull it out, and you can control everything without having to lean forward. Underneath, there's a DVD player. The earlier cars would have had a VHS video there. This one also has a very nice option. There's a picnic table just behind the driver's seat. And I have to say, this is really chunky, absolutely solid wood and looks beautiful. Next, have this, what looks like a central armrest, but when you pull it open, little strap had moved. Okay, what do you have here? A series of controls which you would maybe expect. Now, this is for the seat, so you can move the seat forward, move it back, can move it up or down. But then, incredibly, your little headrest goes up or down, but also it swivels as well. Then you have controls for the rest of the seat. So you have a massage function, a heated function, but also here, the button for cooling. I love the fact that there's also 2 extra controls with some Japanese writing, but if you push one, you'll see what it does. You can control the passenger seat to give you more room. That has a function which I'll show you in a moment as well, which is mind-blowing for me. You can also control the angle of the seat there. This car also has an option which they didn't all come with. Initially I thought it was aftermarket, but it isn't. This is a genuine Toyota, and that's a sort of reading light of some kind. Further down there's controls for the radio. That's all pretty standard, but at the back here there's something else which is really unusual. Toyota partnered up with Sony and had a bespoke Walkman made for this car. Now, at least in the earlier ones, it was also used as a dictaphone, and there was a little microphone here, which I have seen. This car doesn't have it, so I don't know if they removed it later on, but the Walkman is still very much here. And it also has its own Toyota earphones. Now, just check this out. For the man that has everything, obviously you'll have your handmade leather moccasins, and to slip them in and out, shoehorns. I mean, these haven't been placed here. They're designed to go there. You can see that that was made for that. And then, to get yourself comfortable, once you've slipped your shoes off, there's a central hatchway, and I can recline, move the seat forward, and I'm telling you, this is just fantastic. Then, of course, the only problem is I can't really see ahead of me very far. So this headrest, it flips forward so that then I have a beautiful view of everything in front of me. They honestly thought of everything, but it's luxury in a different way. Instead of having, you know, flashy materials and so on, they've just thought of everything. The boot, as you can see, is massive, at least 2 bodies, so it's no coincidence that the Yakuza use these cars. But there's some other quite interesting things in here. So you'll see these little sort of hangers. Some people thought that maybe they were for clothes. They're not. They're for little polishing cloths so that your driver can go around and clean the car. And even better, to give it a good dusting, there is a very special ostrich feathered duster, so you can go around the car and clean it while your boss is in his meeting. Absolutely brilliant. Mechanically, it's double wishbone all round with air suspension. Another curiosity here is those wing mirrors. On this car, they are on the wings. Now again, that is desirable. You could get them on the A-pillar like normal cars, but the beauty of these is that if your driver is here and he has the mirror here, well, he's not maybe quite looking ahead of him at all times. Maybe he could see something that you're doing if he has to look to the side. Over here, he's really only looking out of the window, giving you ultimate privacy. Okay, first thing I want to show you just before we head off, which is another sign of incredible attention to detail, is the key. There is something which was an option here, but there's a key holder, little wallet, with the Phoenix on it. And when you're done, key is in the ignition, so it doesn't wobble around and, you know, swing around and distract you or the keys jangle. It's magnetic and it sticks to the steering column. Absolutely awesome. And we switch it on. You can hear the engine. Sounds okay, pretty unremarkable. First gear, let go of the brake and it just heads off. And it is uncanny, this thing. I have to say, even just driving off at these slow speeds, I know it's changed gear already. I'm in 4th. I don't think I've felt anything at all. The seat itself is not just soft, and it's properly sprung. And I mean sprung like a sort of lorry seat. It moves up and down, so the cushion moves up and down independently of the rest of the seat. What a car. Steering is very light, very smooth, not much coming through, which is what you'd want on a luxury car. When it's under strain, when you put your foot down, you can hear the engine, it comes across, and when you're accelerating. But when you get to a steady cruising speed like this could practically be an electric car. You just can't hear anything at all. And it's so smooth. Now we do need to talk about the looks, and I'd always been very, very underwhelmed. I know they're not supposed to be flashy, but I thought surely Toyota can do better than that. But in the flesh, they look a lot better, a lot more impressive. It's still not the kind of car that will really grab your eye. They're just not ostentatious, but there's some really nice detailing on the body. You know, the steel bright work, which is around sort of that chin spoiler and the side, the quality of the paintwork, the badges, everything on it, the way the doors close, the panel gaps, it all really calls out quality. And now that I'm a bit more used to it, I mean, from certain angles, it is quite imposing. But yes, it's never going to be as flash as some of the European luxury stuff. The ride is sublime. I mean, it's comparable to the S-Class that I had sort of year 2000. It does feel very much like air suspension. Car is moving around a little bit, which maybe not everybody would like, but you can't deny that it's smoothing out any bumps that you're going over. Now, interestingly, they only tried to sell these outside Japan once. That was in this version, the G50, and I think they produced, all in all, just 100 left-hand drives. Most of them went to the US and were used by Japanese executives. So it was not a hit outside Japan, and I can see why, although I massively appreciate what it is. I think in the West, we're much more used to ostentatious sort of forms of wealth, and the fact that it's a Toyota above all, not even a Lexus, would have made it quite a difficult sell for most people. Now, these aren't about speed, but let's just see how that V12 feels. I'll put it on power. There's a few switches there's a few modes including snow. The engine is so smooth and the car so quiet that you just don't realise quite how quickly you're going until you get into a corner where you suddenly start panicking because it moves around all over the place. It's just not made for that, but the engine does go if you put your foot down, and even now, put it to the bottom, you can feel that there's a little click as you get to the bottom of the travel on the accelerator, and it picks up and moves. And I'm reminded now that I mentioned to you that Toyota tuned this to be the strongest engine between 500 and 3,500 RPM, and indeed it is really responsive at low revs. So in terms of modes, you have the normal one and then power and snow. When you move from power back to normal, the difference is stunning. The engine's just so much less responsive, and I guess that's exactly what you'd want in any case. When you're being driven around, you don't want something that pitches about and responds to the throttle too quickly. Now, when it first came out, these retailed for about $100,000. The equivalent time, the LS400 was $80,000, so this was significantly more expensive. If you want to buy one of these remarkable things now, well then, here in the UK, I've seen a couple for sale. Brad actually has had his time with this one, and I think he's thinking of selling it. Asking price, £14,000. If you're interested, I'll put his details in the video description. From what I can see, it's in immaculate condition, and what really stuns me about that more than anything else, I'm looking around here and I haven't seen anywhere. Maybe there's the very odd light scratch on the bodywork, but apart from that, I mean, it looks very close to new. And do you know what the mileage on this car is? Is it 80,000 miles? No. Is it 100,000? No. 150. 260,000 miles this thing has on it. It drives like new. There's nothing, no hint that this has any mileage on it at all. There's no knocks, there's no bangs, it feels tight. I guess the thing is with these that at least for a good first portion of their life, A, they would have done huge mileages because that's what they were made for, but B, more importantly, cost was not relevant in terms of maintenance. Everything that needed to be done was done. Now, if you're going to buy one of the things that worried me a little bit is they were never sold here. They're quite obscure things. But Brad told me that parts availability is really good, particularly the mechanical stuff. Often lots of bits were used by other Toyotas. The things that are difficult are things that are removable. For example, that feather duster or the remote control. Those are hard to get hold of, but mechanically they are bulletproof like any other Toyota of the time. Now this is where we turn around, so I guess I will put down my foot once more, but not too much, because really that chassis at speed, I mean, it'd be fine on a motorway, but on anything twisty, it's just, you can tell it's not suited. So power is still on, foot down. It's an awesome experience. You can't help but compare it a little bit to the equivalent Rolls, but I think a Ghost now, if you were to buy a second-hand one, would cost way more than this, about 4 times the price. And I mean, it'd be hard to say without comparing them back to back, but this is at least as refined. If you want though, you might feel shortchanged because some of the materials aren't as top-notch. It just doesn't look as flashy as a Ghost, but it's so much more interesting. So the Century does luxury like nothing else. I've really loved to finally been able to have a close look at one of these today. They're just such interesting cars. Huge thanks to Brad who came down today, and thanks to all of you for watching. See you for the next video.